Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.
Christopher Media. Let's make some noise. From Asthma Core Studios near Detroit, Michigan. It's unregimented.
Gangsters, what's up, guys?
And now, here are your hosts.
It's 263. I'm Chris.
I'm Aaron.
I'm Rich.
And band's back together. A few weeks off. Like me and Rich last week. Back in full force. Unlike the government.
Right. Nice way to start out 2019, government. Well, how do you guys feel about the government shutdown? Because, first of all, it's not nearly as severe as everyone likes to make it out to be.
Yeah, everything I've still needed
as
it for,
the number
which is
of people impacted, the percentage of the government that's actually not working.
Yeah, it's nowhere near the, end of the world as we know it that a lot of people want to claim it is.
If you believe things you read on Twitter, everyone who works for the government is having their mortgage foreclosed on. No one's paid their bills for the last 6 months.
Right. I mean, there are people that are going to be negatively affected by this, certainly. I don't know that it's gone on long enough for anyone to miss a mortgage payment, but these government shutdowns don't tend to last that long, but we're not looking at an end to this. I don't think anytime in the very near future.
I heard bears are running rampant, stealing picnic baskets, national parks, all across the country.
Hey, yo, boo-boo, I got a picnic basket. Yeah.
Well, I mean, even at the parks, it's essential personnel only, right? So there are people working there, just not enough.
And
they're not getting their trash picked up regularly, apparently, and people are just trashing the place. So they can't just go, oh, it's a government shutdown, maybe I'll bring an extra trash bag and make sure that I haul my shit off.
Well, there's volunteers that are, the environmentally conscious crew that apparently are volunteering to help come in and clean up and et cetera, which, hey, that's cool, whatever. But the really funny part of the whole shutdown is we watched Trump sit in a meeting and go, yeah, shut the government down. I'll take that hit. And now he is hot,
proud to own it.
Yeah, and he is hot-footing it, trying to dance out of this ain't my fault. This is all those evil Democrats.
He's trying to brand it as the Schumer shutdown.
I expect nothing less at this point.
True, but it's like, God, dude, do you even proofread your own bullshit?
No. 2 years into this, I confidently say no to that statement, no to that question. We know he doesn't. Half the time he's handed something to read and he probably just fucking wads it up, throws it off, says, I'm going to rip it.
Oh, I believe that wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
What's your guys' feeling on how this should play out, though? I mean, are you in support of shutting the government down over wall funding, or?
We've talked about this on another podcast. Just give him his money. It's a government-funded project. By the time they start even bulldozers start even heading towards where this alleged wall will be built, he'll be out of office.
Yeah, but it still won't matter the money spent.
Yeah, they'll rewrite a bill and they'll put it somewhere else. They'll quote unquote
the money gonna be gone.
They'll reappropriate it. Give the baby his bottle. It's a government funded project. It will move at the speed of fucking. Insert slow metaphor here.
See, I don't know. I guess I kind of felt that way at first, but now I'm like, you know what? No, fuck that. You campaigned on this wall getting built, and you campaigned on it that Mexico's going to pay for it. Hold baby Huey's feet to the fire and make him fucking come through for once. You better go down there and talk to them fucking them motherfuckers. You better get that funding from Mexico. I mean, no, fuck you. This is the core rallying cry of your base. And I'm tired of fucking him not being held to any type of fucking standard. So yeah, he said, shut the government down. I don't care. I'll take the hit. He can try to dance out of it if he wants. Anybody with half a brain knows what the fuck was said. And anybody who's not got early onset Alzheimer's or dementia period knows that he said, and Mexico's going to pay for the wall.
Yeah. Hey, look, there are some times when you do need to give the baby his bottle, but if you do that by practice, you raise a brat.
Absolutely.
Well, he's already a brat, though. That's the problem.
Yeah, so why do you want to encourage that behavior?
Because it's going to happen anyway.
What's going to happen anyway?
His behavior, he'll do it on something else.
Right?
If he doesn't stay on with this,
so do you want him to be a brat who is spending a good chunk of your taxpayer dollar on something that's going to be completely fruitless, a complete waste of money?
They do it every day on other shit anyway. It's just shit that isn't in the news.
I mean, look,
but you're not concerned about how the government spends your money.
I am, but what are we really?
So you should be majorly concerned about this. But what are
we going to do? Have our own special election and get everybody out of office? No. At this point, it's just take my money every 2 weeks and let me know when it's time to pick new idiots. I'll see you in 2 Novembers. I mean, what can you really do?
All I'm asking is what you support. I'm not saying that you personally are going to make some sort of change that's going to make a difference. The question is, what do you support this behavior? And you're just shrugging it off. I mean, it's potentially $5 billion of taxpayer money that is just going to be basically pissed out into the wind.
But to be fair, Aaron, you do understand it. It's an understandable feeling to go, what the fuck? What the fuck can we do? I mean, I don't support it.
I'm not asking what you're doing. I'm asking how you feel.
Let me finish.
And you don't. And I find it surprising that you feel nothing about government waste
because it's happened. The way I really feel about it is he's the boss. You're going to have to compromise with him. You don't like that he's the boss. Tough shit. He's the boss for 2 more years. You're going to have to somehow compromise with the guy. And he's wired to not compromise, so work around that. That's how I feel. Is that going to happen? No, to both sides. Like the way I feel, I feel something needs to happen that's not in the cards. So at this point, just take my money every 2 weeks, and like I said, I'll see you in 2020 in November.
All right.
Like it's just kind of one of those what are you going to do situations. Like it sucks. It's stupid. I think both sides are acting like idiots. I think that fucking shouting match on national TV between 3 adults was fucking laughable. Where all 3 of them were just, oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Like I was like, wow, these are 3 of these are 3 of our leaders. Everybody, these are 3 adults. Great job. We've chosen well.
I really do like the analogy of Trump as just a petulant fucking cock-sucking blowjob that should have been swallowed, because he is exactly like that. He's like that rotten, spoiled fucking kid that one of our friends all have. Everybody has a friend who's the kid throws the shit fit and the parents always give in. And just like that kid, he wears down the parents to the point where the parents become screaming idiots themselves. And he continues to prove the one thing he is very bigly great at is bringing down the level of maturity and intelligence of any room that stupid fucking asshole walks into.
Yeah, he's really good at getting people to stoop to his level.
And it's annoying.
Right. Well,
but I don't know what else. There's only so many times you can go. Well, okay, little boy. You can't play with a loaded gun. But I want to. You can't play with a load. But I want to. Well, you know what, honey? We could always fucking make another one. Let him kill himself. I'm tired of this little shit. I mean, obviously that's an extreme example, but you can't reason with him. The way he conducts business all his life is, do I get my way? No, then I walk away. But he can't walk away from this. That's the problem. So hold his feet to the fucking fire on this one.
But what do you want to see happen with the government shutdown?
To be honest with you, let it stay shut down until he fucking gives in. If he doesn't give in, well, I guess we're going to find out.
He
How many
will
people
cave
wa-
eventually. He's caved over and over again on this. He's 2 years into his administration, and he still hasn't gotten any funding for the wall.
Well, there you go. There's my answer then.
Exactly.
And he
that's
has
what I'm saying.
even less ground to stand on at this point. He has less power. He has less support publicly and in his own White House for this. So, yeah, I think absolutely you should hold out. I don't understand the point of giving him what he wants for this, with the idea that he can do this anyways, because he can't. He can't do this unilaterally.
Well, I brought this up last week, but I do think they've added a little bit to it, which is the GoFundMe for the wall. That, first of all, even if they come up with $1 billion, they still need $4 more billion. So I guess pissing into that fucking fan is working for you. But the government's like, well, we won't accept that money.
Yeah, they can't.
Okay. So, but I mean,
You'd have to build the wall privately, and then you'd have to get the government's approval, at which point they'd be like, no, we still can't accept that money. Like, it's not going to happen that way.
I bet if you wanted to give the government $1 billion, they'd figure out a way for you to give them $1 billion.
well, don't you guys remember?
No, you can't. You have taxes.
Don't you guys remember
Nobody donates to the government.
all the bullshit that went on? Was it about maybe 10, 15 years ago about, these limousine liberal rich people who, want government funded this and government funded that. Well, they could always pay more than their fair share of taxes.
No,
if they're so worried about it.
They can do so privately, but if you give the government money that they are not taxing you for, that's called a bribe.
Oh, so a lobbyist.
Yeah, well, keep in mind that we're talking about the people that make the laws. You don't think they could write themselves a law real quick to figure out a way how to get themselves given $1 billion if someone wanted to give them $1 billion?
First of all,
No, stop. You can't write a law that says this person can get
First of
rich.
all,
Slow down.
Hold on, because my point is that this is what all those Republicans were saying about all these rich liberals years ago, and no one ever said, well, you can't do that. So obviously they didn't know what the fuck they were talking about. That's if you can't just over.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, well, I'm. Go ahead.
No, I want to know. We were talking about.
I can't remember what rich liberal it was, but someone was talking about how we need to put more money into social services and et cetera, et cetera. And all these right-wing politicians and pundits came out and said, we don't have the money for that. We're trying to fight a war in Iraq, trying to fight a war in Afghanistan. Oh, and by the way, Mr. Rich Liberal, if you want these services funded, no one's stopping you from paying more taxes. That was the premise that was thrown out there.
Right, and they're wrong.
Constantly. Okay, then that's what I'm getting at.
They're absolutely right. You can do so if you see a problem and you want to tackle it as a private citizen and fund a company or an organization that can handle that issue. That's fine, but you can't. Border security is not something that you can handle privately. The government handles that. And you can't just go, oh, I've got an extra $5 billion sitting here. I'd like to give that directly to the government and have them build a wall with that money. Again, that would be considered a bribe.
Yeah, but could you call it a donation and donate it to some kind of foundation?
You could make the foundation, but what's the foundation going to do? It can't give the money directly to the government. It's still a bribe. They can privately do whatever they want within the limits of the law, but they can't
give it to a political action committee.
Look, yes,
and they give it to the
then
government.
What the fuck are we talking about? We were talking about private citizens and their own money, not PACs. I mean, yes, certainly there's a lot of very wealthy individuals that donate to PACs that try and get legislation to go their way. Yeah, that's absolutely how it works in the system. But you can't, there's this idea that you can just, I'm going to give money to the government and they're going to do this with it. That's not how it works.
That's why I thought it was hilarious that all these politicians who should know better.
Write your check to Mr. Government.
We're saying this shit. Yeah, we're saying this shit. Just overpay on your taxes. If that's what you want.
To cash or Mr. Government.
Right. But what good does it do to overpay or to donate to the government, if that was even possible? What good would that do?
We're showing them we got support for this wall. That's what.
What good would that do if it makes no changes in how the government is spending that money?
None. But but to these people, it shows them that there is liquid support for this wall. We want this wall, America. That's the mindset of these people. Even if you can't take the money, we're showing you that we want this wall. That we got your back, Mr. President.
The taxation is theft. Libertarians are loving this because they're just going, see, well, what have we said for years and years and years? If it's worth paying for, people will voluntarily pay for it. And so they're just loving it for that. And I'm just going, oh, God, really? Okay. Do you really think that that's what's behind the sentiment of that GoFundMe? Or is it more keep them people who, get them brown folks out of my country? Because I'm willing to bet there's a lot more of that sentiment than, well, I'm just going to do my share to help my government.
Well, you can make this look like a grassroots movement very easily, right? Because you get a few fairly wealthy donors that are willing to kick in, 10 grand, 20 grand here for the wall, knowing full well that they're never going to reach their goal privately. The government's not going to take the money. Nothing's going to happen with this campaign. It's just eventually going to be dissolved, and they're not going to have to spend their money even. And it gets the ball rolling so that everyone else that wants to feel like they're participating, throwing in $5 and $10 here, and now you've got $500,000, and it looks like something. It looks like a movement, right?
We need a Jerry Lewis marathon for the wall.
Who would host it?
Well, that's what this is. Only if the kids never got the money.
Well, I mean, Jerry did do it for a lot of years, and well, if we cured him as, I mean, I'm just saying. Sam Kinison had a bit like, "Hey, Jerry, you want to help these kids? Take them to a strip club. Let them feel a titty or two. How about that?" But
be hosted by Tucker Carlson, Toby Keith.
Special appearance by Ted Nugent.
Yeah.
Oh God. It's just the whole thing with the wall is so fucking stupid, and God, I think everybody. This is what I love. I see so many people share on social media or whatever. These memes of it'll have this long quote about Americans have a right to vet people who come into the country, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and they'll go, who said it? Was it Trump? No, it was Barack Obama. And it's like,
right,
of course. But yet in the next breath you say the Democrats want an open border.
Right. You can't have it both ways, can you?
And I'm just like, fuck off. Everybody fuck off with your bullshit. Seriously. Like, how do you not see that this is absolute horseshit? You are being played for a sucker, and guess what? It's working. It's working very well. It's working bigly. Okay?
Yeah, there's a story recently, and this ties together, if you hang in there with me, but I was listening to, one of the daytime NPR programs, Here and Now, I think it was, and they were talking about Utah has this new super strict driving while intoxicated law. I forget the actual, how many .0.
0.05.
Yeah.
Right. So, which is the lowest, or I guess highest in the country, depending on how you were rating that. But it's the most strict in the whole country. And this guy was on there talking about it, and he's like, it's not that people are trying to frame his opposition as like, oh, well, so you're for drunk driving? Like, no, of course, nobody's for drunk driving. But what are we doing here? How many people are we positively affecting and negatively affecting? That's what you really have to ask yourself with any law, really, right? So this law was put in place to prevent things like accidental death on the highway. You know, somebody gets hit by a drunk driver, they weren't doing anything wrong, they end up dead. It's a tragedy, right? It happens all across the country. Well, it happens about once, maybe twice a year in Utah. Now, that's not to say that any of those individual instances aren't tragedies for those people and their families and all of that and horrible things that should never happen. But you do have to weigh, like, you have to consider people's personal freedoms, right? To not have their lives negatively affected by draconian laws. That just because a person, you know, had 2 beers and drove 3 miles home without endangering anybody, but if they happen to get pulled over and tested, then, you know, on top of that, not only are the laws strict on as far as what they consider legal limit, but you're looking at having your license revoked for 18 months. First offense.
Well, you're definitely looking at,
you know,
at paying into the machine that's gonna. You're definitely looking at creating revenue to keep the machine going. Right. A machine that exists only because of the bullshit laws you have.
Well, that's very true. But that's how I see this border wall issue, right? It's not that it won't work or that we should have open borders or any of that, really. It's what are we really talking about here? How many people are being affected and how much money are we throwing at that problem? And how many people that would be good, productive citizens are we turning away from this country because of these policies? That's what I'm looking at. And you know, people want to throw out when they talk about, well, we need border security, we need this wall. What about? I heard some guy, conservative on NPR today, talking about, well, what about blah blah and blah blah blah, right? I don't even remember their names. 2 people that were killed by illegal immigrants. I'm like, okay, you've got 2 people in the whole fucking country in the last year. You have 2 people. If you want to show me that you want to spend $5 billion on something and that this is a dangerous issue that's affecting us all, you got to show me some real numbers, not fucking 2 people. Yeah, and it's not to be cold, you know? It's like if there were 2 people in the world that were dying of some horrible disease, if there were only 2 people that were dying from cancer a year, and the government said, well, this is unacceptable, we're going to throw $5 billion at that. Not my money, you're not. We need $5 billion to save another 2 people per year. That's not smart spending. Well, and yet you do have to look at it in those cold ways. There are acceptable losses that we have in a country where we want to enjoy as much freedom as possible.
If they were so worried about the people, the citizens' security and well-being and safety, wouldn't that $5 billion be much better spent on, I don't know, mental health? I mean, how many people who are mentally ill?
How many lives could they change for the better? Yeah,
exactly.
$5 billion.
Exactly.
See, that's why I can't blow it off. I mean, yes, the government's going to do what it's going to do. I can't control what the president does or what he wants. And the government's going to waste billions of dollars all the time on stuff that I would rather them not do. But that doesn't mean that I should just accept the fact that they want to take a huge chunk of money that we could do so many other good things with it and just blow it on something that's going to make very little difference to any of these statistics of immigration, crime, anything that any aspect that you want to look at border security. The wall is not going to significantly change it.
That's the thing. I think it'll end up being spent on like more troops or more infrastructure. I don't think we ever see this wall, even if he gets that money.
Well, there is talk about. There's a little bit of shifting that Republicans are looking to do to try and help Trump save face by saying that a wall is a metaphor and a wall is just about border security, right? So that if they get any amount, if it's even in the $1.5–2 billion, and they can allot that to border security, they're going to call it a win.
Like, I just,
It's a
and they
metaphor.
even say-
What kind of Sylvia Plath bullshit are the Republicans? Like Trump
Straight
thinks
up.
that deeply?
A
First of
wall doesn't even need to be a physical wall. Like the wall is like this metaphor for the troops and the technology and all the things that we can do to keep people that we don't want.
like this
in
is
this
why
country-
I don't have faith in like
This country.
when the federal government is involved, because committees get involved, groups of people get involved, and we start turning, we start doing things like the last sentence you just said, Aaron. We start we start transforming the meanings based on what the committee comes up with, like shit like that. Like that's, like just say you're going to give them the money, like write it into a bill where it gets funneled somewhere else, and he never fucking notices, and move on and get everything back moving. Like it's.
Yeah, no, this is why I voted Democrat, right? I wanted a check on Trump's power, and this is what I want them to do. I want them to hang in there.
Well, my problem is why in 2 years, why haven't we figured out you're smarter than him, work around him? Why haven't they figured that out yet? Like
Well, they're smarter than him, but he is the most powerful man in the country.
Yeah, but the system is set up to where you can work around him, to where if he's a fucking moron. So we did it for 8 years with W. Like, I just don't. That's just what bugs me is we haven't figured out. Like, you're smarter than him. Work around him. Like, let him think he's a boss. Give him his big gold pen and his big stupid book.
We didn't do that with W. I mean, he didn't have majority
Cheney just
support
used
for
him as
his
a
war.
puppet. He got his war though, didn't he?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He didn't, even when he didn't have majority support for the war in the country, he still got his war.
Say word, he tried to kill my father. No, look, I gotta agree with you, Aaron. This is something I'm like, this is not in any way wishy-washy. Yes, Chris, let me say this. I understand where you're coming from. Even if they go, fine, here's your $5 billion, let's start the fucking government back up. That would it might not, that even if it went ahead unfettered, that wall probably wouldn't be completed before one of us died. All right?
Sure.
We all know how the government works. This is not about government. This is about him being able to go, well, I'm going to check this box. I got another win. Are you tired of winning yet? Because I'm not. And it's he flat out ran on, we're going to build the wall and Mexico's going to pay for it. And when politicians went, well, you're not getting the $5 billion from us, you better go to Mexico. He was like, then I'll shut down the government. And they were like, that's on you. And he was like, good, I'm glad it's on me.
Right.
And now he's playing games going, this is all the Democrats. Bullshit. It has to stop sometime. And in my opinion, you have him for 15 months before the election, repeating this same fucking phrase over and over again. Drill that into the public consciousness. Every time that cocksucker fucking says something about it, play him fucking from one of his 15 million fucking rallies saying, we're going to build the wall and Mexico's going to pay for it. And then just cut to a news person sitting there just going, shrugging, going, you heard him.
Unregimented.
ChristopherMedia.net. ChristopherMedia.net.
Unregimented.
We wouldn't be having this kind of knockdown, drag out war over the wall if the investigation wasn't going so well, because basically Trump stays in office now at the whim of the collective Republican Party. If the Republican Party turned on him, there's no way that he could remain in office or get anything done. And Trump, the Republican Party remains loyal to Trump only so far as only insofar as he regains control over his base, right? So if he doesn't get the wall, he's going to lose popularity. If he loses popularity, he's going to lose Republican support. If he loses Republican support, he's going to be impeached. That's what this is really about.
I would like to believe that, but here's what I'm afraid of.
Well, wait, tell me where I'm wrong.
I'm about to. Hold on. And I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm afraid that you're wrong.
Wait a minute.
Listen to me. His base is so rabid. His base is so rabid that even if he doesn't get this wall, it does not matter to them. They're not going to stop supporting him over this. I don't
think that's the truth, because when he was going to back off the wall once again, and he was ready to sign the funding bill, and then it was fucking Ann Coulter on Twitter that started it, and many other conservatives joined in and started saying, oh, he's backing off the wall again. Well, you know what? Guess what, people? This isn't the guy you thought he was. And he realized that he has to double down on this issue. He realized, because of the negative feedback that he got, that he cannot back down on this issue again. Or else he might as well say goodbye to his presidency.
And yeah, it's a strong word, but I absolutely do mean it. I'm just afraid that with his hardcore base, I've yet to hear the hardcore Trump supporters say one thing he's done wrong. And I'm not talking head pundits. I'm talking Joe Blow, Joe.
But I just gave you an example of what that happened recently. There was many people that were talking negative, many Trump supporters were talking negatively about him being a pussy on the wall.
You got to beat that drum.
Trump is enigmatic for his a lot of his hardcore supporters, yes, but at the end of the day, Trump is only worth what he can get done for the people. I mean, for the people who support Trump and the wall, this wall is not a metaphor. They really do want a physical barrier around the country. They're sick of seeing their country turn into something that's not whatever they thought it was.
Yeah, absolutely. I know. I guess I phrased it wrong. I hope you're right. I honestly, I swear, I hope you're right.
I think you're giving too much credit to Trump, because it's not just his personality that got him elected. It was his message. If he wasn't the one who was willing to say, yeah, I want less Mexicans in this country and I'm willing to build a wall to make that happen, then he would just have remained a joke. It's because people heard the message and believed that he was capable of getting it done. That's why they support him, and that's why they continue to support him. If he loses this battle for the funding on the wall, he's not going to get another credible chance to get that back. This is his last bite at the apple, and if he misses, he's going to lose a lot of support, and he's going to lose a lot of support from Republicans who can make the decision on whether he gets impeached or not.
I cannot disagree with that statement. I disagree with everything you said in that sentence. Or I agree with everything you said in that sentence, pardon me. Like, this is he's got to talk about jobs in the wall. It's all still campaigning, you know? That's how he's still having his rallies. This is part of it. You know, he's got the boxes that he's checked, and he's got to check these fucking boxes. And his base loves that shit.
I absolutely hope you guys.
He's on the greatest hits tour right now, and if he can't nail the wall, the big torch song of his presidency, then nobody's going to continue to come out to see the Trump show.
Yeah, listen, if you're not going to play "Welcome to the Jungle," Guns N' Roses, we're not going to come see you.
Right? Exactly.
I think back to the people I know personally who supported him the longest. And it's funny how when he first started, it wasn't necessarily the wall as keep Mexicans out. It was more of, and maybe it's just because of the area we live in, because like I said, these are people I know personally around this area of Southeast Michigan. It was keep them dirty Arabs out of here.
Yeah.
That's like, I mean,
down south it's Mexicans.
I'm talking going back to 2015 when he first announced. Like that was he's gonna keep them dirty Arabs out of here. He ain't gonna let them just come in here and do whatever the fuck and all this shit. and all the bullshit that comes with, somehow they never pay taxes or something like that because, all the bullshit that comes with that we grew up hearing, all these urban myths. And I'm like, have you listened to him? He's talking about building a wall along the Mexican border. He's not talking about...
Yeah, are you going to build one along Canada too?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of see a problem with his thinking because there's a lot of other places people can cross.
Trump 2020 is going to be build the dome. Build the dome. It's going to be like Springfield in the Simpsons movie.
Hey, breaking news. Shocker, the House has voted to end the shutdown, but...
Well, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, he can veto it, so...
I think the plan that might be successful is to actually break up the funding bill so that the majority of the government goes on to be funded through, I think, until September. And then in about a month, they'll have to vote again on what to do with the money that Trump wants to spend on the border wall.
Cut the bill up, put the wall in its own little section, vote on everything else.
Yeah, that's what they're looking at. Yeah, that's absolutely what they're looking to do. I mean, but that's Trump, giving away his power. The only reason that he has any power in this move and any chance of winning it is because it's all tied together. And there's no way. I mean, you vote individually on the wall. I mean, fucking Nancy Pelosi said it in that meeting. You don't have the votes, and she's right. He doesn't have the votes to get it done. So it takes some real political wrangling, and at a time where Trump has less of his experienced political minds around him in the White House.
Well, I mean, he ran Mattis off.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, Mattis in his statement was like, he was like, to the troops, hold fast with our allies. And, basically like in
Is that because he couldn't write good luck?
Yeah. Basically, he's like, hold fast with our allies and make sure that that the enemy we're told is the enemy. I'm paraphrasing, but I mean, it's like if you hear that from a general, that didn't like give me confidence in his administration. That was basically him saying this guy's a fucking jackass, and I can no longer be part of it.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah, when he was leaving, he sounded like a tutor that was quitting on a child who did nothing but like fart and play video games the whole time.
Yeah,
all his kid's doing is smoking weed and playing with his dick. I'm out.
Right. I've given guitar lessons to kids like that. First one, I show them the basics. I'm like, here, try to, work on this. And I get next week. So what'd you work on? Nothing, didn't have time.
Right.
Oh, okay. Well, let's try it again. And, third week, nothing. Well, then I quit.
Kind of how he was describing it. Like every time that he had to have these conversations with him over and over, like he was having them for the first time, explaining to him how international politics work.
A general.
And treaties and and all that stuff.
And giving him the book Government for Dummies.
A book. He's like, let's start with this. I'm just a bill, just a lonely old bill.
We gotta go dig up Schoolhouse Rock episodes for him.
Yeah.
Right. He tried that, but he just kept watching Conjunction Junction over and over again.
Excuse me. One of my favorite memes when he was elected before he was sworn in was him typing on a laptop doing the hunt and peck with his two fingers, and then a screenshot of the laptop underneath says "How to be president."
Maybe there were different ones, but the one I saw that meme, it was just "How to president."
How to.
Which I think it's funnier if you take the B out.
Yes, I agree.
Speaking of conjunctions.
Well, look, when it comes to this wall thing, the way I look at it, politicians have dug their own grave using their own words. I mean, we talked about it. I don't know if it was last week or the last time all three of us were on the podcast, but the Bush 1 presidency was sunk by read my lips. Well, maybe it's time Donnie John learned that fucking lesson. Okay, stop flapping your fucking gums and just saying whatever comes to mind.
Yeah.
Because that's going to work with a certain amount of mouth breathing, room temperature IQ having, wet brain fuckheads.
W was the last one or HW was the last one term. Excuse me.
Yeah. I wonder what Trump, if he survives to run in 2020, what's he going to run on if he doesn't have the wall? What is he going to talk about?
Mars. MARS.
Red Rocks. Yay, yay.
Him and Trump Musk 2020.
We're going to send a car to Mars. It's going to be the best car ever.
I don't think Mars is going to get him reelected.
No.
And that's another thing. That's another reason to not support this.
We could send him there.
Like, not only is him not getting his wall going to cause him to lose support with his base and the domino effect from that, but yeah, it's like Trump gets a wall, he wins 2020.
Yeah.
Trump doesn't get a wall, I don't think he wins 2020.
No, because this could turn into, this could be like the wall. Yeah, sure. Okay, buddy.
I think if he's going to run on anything, what he would be smart to run on is the indignation a lot of people are feeling towards companies like GM, who took a ton of government money and then said, "Hey, thanks. Now we're going to move all our shit to a different country." Because if you listen if you're not from this area or you don't live in Canada, you don't get to hear Canadian radio. And I listen to quite a, like two of the stations I listen to quite a lot are from Canada. And I hear their advertising, and they have commercials on their radio going, we gave GM X amount of billions, which is nowhere near what the U.S. gave them. And now they're pulling out and, taking 25,000 or 2,500 jobs with them. And blah, blah, blah. And like, people are pissed the fuck off. And it's like, I don't know how he could spin it, but I could see him trying to, like work that anger, because that's what he works best with. He works best with anger.
But it's not going to be an issue that gets him any results either. I mean, he's showing that he doesn't really have, he has influence, certainly. Like, he can tweet about a company and affect their stock price temporarily, but he can't just make GM not move factories. He can, if he manages to bring together a policy that makes sense to keep those companies in the U.S., maybe that's an issue to run on. But I'll be damned if that's something that would get him reelected. Not if he doesn't get the wall.
I'm with you, but I'm just like, when I say his base, I'm talking his unflappable, unmovable supporters, not people who are like, I wanted to, I wanted to shake things up. I wanted an outsider, et cetera, et cetera. I wanted to see if he'd actually go through with what he said. Those people, I hear those people all the time in interviews or whatever, via NPR or, websites, et cetera, who are like, full of hot air bullshit, just like every other politician. Meet the new boss, same as the old boss. Nothing new under this sun. It's just a lot more embarrassing for us on the national, stage. It's really about it.
I think those Trump can do no wrong supporters are not, they're just vocal. They're not as massive as the media would make them out to be. In honesty, there's probably more juggalos in the U.S. than there are like die-hard, I will support Trump no matter what he does.
Man, I would almost vote for Violent J over Trump.
Right?
At least
the scary part of that is the Venn diagram that overlaps.
Right. Hey, look, I'll tell you this much. I've heard ICP interviewed before, and they're not the smartest guys in the world, but they are smarter than Trump. I believe that.
Oh, they're
more compassionate.
Well,
believe it or not, guys that write songs about mass murders.
They made their own money. They didn't have to borrow it.
People. Right?
Yeah, that's the other thing. Like, what was it? 10 years ago, there was a news story on Channel 2. 10 years ago, they were worth $100 million. ICP. $100 million. What the fuck did Trump wouldn't be worse shit if he didn't inherit his money.
Borrowed $1 million from his dad?
I don't give a fuck what a small loan of $1 million. No, there's no such thing as a small $1 million. That's not a loan.
Where I'm from, and everybody else is, that's a big loan, sir.
I want him to run on a ticket too. Would it be Violent J as president?
Shaggy Two Dope as vice president.
Yeah, I think Two Dope's got to be vice, right?
What was that Juggalo dating site? And you said you're going to take your new DJ name from it, Dr. Stretch Nuts or something like that.
I wish I could remember what it was. It was great.
Oh man.
Oh shit. Well, another thing NPR was doing its year in review, and something that one of the stories they ran, I just can't believe this story didn't have more legs than this, like in the public consciousness. But I guess it's just not outrageous enough. Like, it produced outrage in me, but I guess because I actually listened to the details, and then I was like, wait a minute, that's bullshit, which is what Trump and his siblings did with his father's wealth and how they basically laundered it to keep it away from the estate tax, the 55% estate tax. They created a dummy company that never had an employee, never existed physically. And anytime his father spent money, he spent money through that company. They cashed the checks, and then the same day took the cash out. No money ever sat in the bank, and it just went to the kids.
Yep.
I mean, this is some straight up Soprano shit. And I'm just going, how the fuck do we know this? Do you have a paper trail? And these people never once stood in front of a federal grand jury for tax evasion.
Because they're not. It's because this story is just about one case of this. Like people do this.
No, the New York Times story was a vast piece about how Fred Trump got his money, how he disseminated it to his kids, how the business changed hands, right? Where Trump's money came from. I mean,
I gotta think this is about one case of this goes on all the time. These are just high profile people, and we're hearing about it. Like this is another case of these people are operating within the system that has been laid down. Like talk to the people laying down the system.
I think that wanders into criminal. I don't think that's just.
Absolutely everybody they talked to in that story that is a tax expert, lawyers, former prosecutors, defense attorneys said, this is tax evasion. It was illegal then. It's illegal now.
Yeah.
It's money laundering, which goes back to what I was talking about pre-show about, because the whole investigation into Trump and, I've been there myself. Chris has been there many times on the show. We're like, oh God, just really? What are you investigating? Where's it going? Nothing's happening. Blah, 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 blah. Well, I talked to a friend of mine who works in the legal industry, and she broke it down this way. She said, when the government, especially the federal government, goes after organized crime, they have to build a RICO case. They can spend the better part of a decade building that case because they are only going to get that one shot.
Right.
You can't try someone, them be found innocent, and then retry them. That's double jeopardy.
If Mueller is going to fire a gun at Trump, it better have the golden bullet loaded in it.
Exactly. And no one blinked an eye when the FBI spent 7 years building a case against John Gotti that finally sent him to prison. But yet people are shitting themselves because, oh my God, it's been a year and a half, 2 years. Where's the result? What's the end game? Well, unlike unlike the FBI and organized crime, when they arrest someone, they flip them, and then they send them to go back out there, and they become an informant. No, they're charging and indicting people as they go. And eventually, they're going to get to someone who's going to be able to say, okay, wait a minute, I'm not doing 25 years in federal prison. Not for that cocksucking motherfucker. So what do you want to know? I'll show you where bodies are buried.
Or, it doesn't even take that big of a charge. It takes the right charge on the right people. So 25 years on somebody who happens to know some shit that's valuable, that's one thing. I think you get even greater pressure just by threatening a couple years on one of his kids, or even Jared. You dangle a couple years in federal prison for Jared, Trump might change his tune. He might not.
My question
he might prove
is
to be more selfish than anyone thought was humanly possible. But
I guess my question is, what is a satisfying conclusion for people? What if this is the goal that you want to see Donald Trump go to jail, or is the goal you want to see Donald Trump not be president? Because what if this investigation goes 6 years and he only serves one term?
Well, I think that's part of the problem, is that it does get phrased in that way a lot, and that really shouldn't be. My goal is that a thorough investigation that's not stymied by the president or anyone else in government in any way manages to come to reasonable conclusions, right? I don't.
Yes, but you're a rational thinking individual. You're not you're not a sample of the status quo. The idiots we see on Twitter all day, every day.
Right. They're not interested in justice per se. They have a means that they want to accomplish, i.e. Trump not being president, and an ends that they think they can do it, this investigation. Yeah,
just my question to that mob is worst case scenario, what if this goes 6 years and he only serves one term? Is that a satisfying conclusion for you? Yeah,
at this point, to be brutally honest with you, at this point, absolutely. At this point, when the term white privilege gets thrown around, it was built for people like Trump. If this was me or you, we'd already be in fucking prison, all right? This fucker is dirty as fuck before he ever said he was running for president. And you know what? You need to go bye-bye. You need to go play ping pong in the day room in federal prison for about 20 years.
Right.
All right?
Well,
yeah, I want fucking justice, because I'm fucking tired of rich cocksuckers writing the rules, doing as they fucking will, doing as they please, and we just shrug and go, oh, that's just the cost of doing business. No, it's fucking not. We can't do business that way. You don't get to do business that way.
Right. We all write the rules.
But here's the problem.
Write them. It's time to.
Here's the problem. You got too many fucking people who are more worried about bullshit nonsense that really doesn't affect anybody on a real level. And I've been triggered and microaggressions and all this bullshit, instead of real problems like this that cost our country. This is a motherfucker who got up there and bragged about paying as little taxes as possible, yet somehow is held up as a patriot. Huh? What? So you basically got up on stage and admitted, I'm going to use whatever loopholes the government gives me to weasel out of paying my fair share, but I'm a patriot and I need to be president. No, you need to be in prison, dude. And yes, I get it. The loopholes are there. That's why every year the tax code gets rewritten to the point where CPAs are constantly fucking having to keep up on it. I understand that.
But this isn't a loophole, right? We now know that Trump was actively pursuing a Trump Tower in Moscow at the same time that he was running for president and getting support from Russians for his campaign.
I didn't know about the Trump Tower in Moscow, but I do know that anyone who says that the Russian interference in the campaign was trying to put Hillary in office, your crack pipe must be hot to the touch.
Right.
It's all there is to it.
This is part of Michael Flynn's testimony, because originally Michael Flynn was questioned about this because somebody else had said to the FBI, to the Mueller investigation, that, hey, Michael Flynn was, or Or, I'm sorry, I got the wrong Michael. Michael Cohen, the lawyer,
Okay.
right? Yeah. Okay, so Michael Cohen was asked about this because somebody had said that he was the one orchestrating this, and that he was, even during while Trump was actively running for president, he was in Russia negotiating for this deal for Trump Tower. And the first time that Michael Cohen was asked about it, he denied it. Well, then they found out, they tracked his cell phone. It was like, oh, on this day that you said that you weren't in Russia, why did your cell phone ping in Russia?
It got stolen. Yeah.
Someone cloned it.
Right. So, but that's not even the only evidence. But yeah, we now know for certain that he was looking for some quid pro quo. Both Russia and he were, that was part of the deal. You helped me get president, and get this tower for me. I'll get rid of the sanctions.
Yeah, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
Unregimented.
ChristopherMedia.net. ChristopherMedia.net.
Unregimented.
Okay, so let's assume, let's say that that there are crimes that the Mueller investigation finds that they can charge directly to Trump. We still have a majority of people in government that believe that you just can't indict a sitting president. Not
Why
everyone.
not?
I mean,
if you believe there was crime committed and you have actual proof, why the fuck not?
right. Well, that's the thing, is that it's never been actually tried before. We've never been in this situation. Nixon resigned before he could be impeached, or indicted rather. So we just don't know for sure, but the way that most legal experts seem to read the law is that you just can't do it. Well, what move does that give Trump from there? I mean,
Then a boo-boo?
He better win 2020, right? Because as soon as he leaves office, he's going to be indicted. And then what? Like, either pardon himself, which is another thing that's never been tried before, and people are like, I don't know. Doesn't seem logical, but then again,
Doesn't say you
we didn't
can't.
think that. Right? It's like it's the Air Bud rule. Like, there's nothing in the rule book says a dog can't play. That's basically it, and that's kind of where we're at with it's indicting a sitting president. Like, there's nothing in the rule book that says you can indict him. There's no process for doing so.
I love that when Aaron brings up sports, it's Air Bud. I had forgotten about that. That's a good callback.
There was also what was the movie where the mule was playing? He was the kicker for the football team. The same premise.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, he either pardons himself, or he tries to run as king,
Right?
like declares himself president for life. Like, he doesn't really have a lot of options anymore either, unless the Mueller investigation really can't come up with any solid evidence against him. I mean, sure, they might find him guilty or suspect him guilty of crimes, and he still lives out his presidency. But what does he do then?
Pulls a Roman Polanski.
Yeah.
Right. Well, then you get a Nixon situation, because if Nixon would have refused to leave office, then that's probably what would have happened. He would have been indicted. We would have actually seen if you could successfully indict a sitting president and if it made any difference. And probably we would have seen if a president can pardon themselves as well. But he didn't. He took the deal. He said, all right, you know what? This obviously isn't going to go well for me either way. Let's say I step down from the presidency and you don't throw me in jail. You can throw everybody else that was under me in jail. Just not the president. Yeah. But that's essentially the deal he made. He left office to avoid being indicted. And there's a possibility that's what Trump's going to be looking at too.
I just think he has been successful in essentially a criminal world for, multiple decades, and he knows how to make himself look clean, and make everyone around him look dirty. I truly believe
so
that.
He hasn't been caught yet is reason to believe that he will continue to get away with it.
But Chris, you have to remember, he's also, when he's playing in those criminal worlds, maybe rubbing elbows up against organized crime and stuff, he looks clean because he's standing next to the dirtiest motherfuckers society has.
But I'm saying he also too might know how to dirty up everyone around him. Like I think
what I'm saying. What I'm saying is,
Gotti didn't. Right? How many years did he run a criminal family and continue to make the FBI look like fools until eventually they got him?
And also, we're talking about career criminals. You don't have to work very hard to dirty them up. You just got to let them do what they're going to do. A fish got to swim. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's just all there is to it. These are politicians who are practiced at the art of coming off as, not me. He's not. He is, well, yeah, you lay down with dogs, you come up with fleas, but I got enough money so I can buy the best flea powder. Well, the problem is that he can't, who politically can he throw under the bus that'll take the hit for him? I mean, because that's what it's going to have to be. Someone's going to have to fall on his sword for him.
Well, running for president was the worst idea that Trump could have made. The worst decision he could have made, right?
Raised the fuck out of his profile.
Right. He would have continued to get away with the shit that he did, the tax evasion and whatnot, and just because it wouldn't have been worth it. Who would really want to go after him? He's the one that raised the stakes.
Yeah.
He could have just stayed at home, died on his golden toilet. But he had to soar for the sun, and his wax wings melted.
And that ego. I mean, what's that big book of Jewish fairy tales say? Pride goeth before the fall. That ego, man.
It's pride talking to you. Pride's a motherfucker.
Feel that sting?
I mean, that's just all it is. And I really, truly believe that about him. Mm-hmm. It's at this point, it's become cliched and a little bit hacky if you're a comedian to use it. But, that's because there's a lot of truth in it. If it wasn't for him being fucking taunted by people and Obama, like, well, I'm president and you're not, so that's something that you'll never be, I don't think we'd be in this situation. Now, I'm not putting that at Obama's feet because who the fuck thought that he would actually win the presidency? Yeah. I go back to the night he was elected, the picture of his war room, and he's sitting there looking like a Michigan fan. Oh, he fumbles the snap. And it's like, we had this game wrapped up. It was over with.
Yeah, he did.
Fuck. I mean, he looked, that's as scared as I've ever seen that man look.
Yeah, I wasn't supposed to win. Won. Yeah. But I guess, too, my example of how he knows how to make himself look clean is everything with his taxes. I mean, we're just talking about how he's blatantly admitted to tax evasion, and they can't find fucking proof of it. Like, I don't know, like, it's just, I'm cynical, I guess.
How do you know they can't find proof of it? How do you know that Mueller doesn't have his taxes? If he wanted to get him on tax evasion, he probably could have done that. Okay,
until the first week of January 2019, he's still a free man. No charges about not paying taxes. At this point, if he goes to jail, it's a decade-ish. He's a man in his early 70s. From the diet that he has, he's not living till 90.
Right, but how many crimes did they catch Gotti doing in the process of investigating him? But yet they decided to hold out because they wanted the one that was going to put him away and possibly end a criminal organization. So they didn't want to get him for whatever petty crime that they could throw him in jail for a couple of years for. And Mueller doesn't want him for tax evasion, not when the investigation is looking like it's going to be a lot more than that.
But that also goes back to if they're treating this like they are going after someone in organized crime, it's just another crime we throw on the pile till we got the kill shot. And then when we have the kill shot, that's our ace in the hole. And we can present this whole stack of crimes, and then when people go, well, that's got to be it, they have nothing else, they go, and here's the headshot. Boom. And that's a mic drop moment. Or they
Also-
open strong with the mic drop moment, and they go, by the way, we got all this other shit, too, in case that doesn't convince you.
Right. I mean, we use the term organized crime to talk about, large mob families and stuff like that. But, I mean, how is this not organized crime?
Well, the fact that he laundered him and his siblings laundered his father's money. His father was reportedly worth over $1 billion, 10 years before his death? And when he died, his estate was valued at something like $250,000. They laundered $1 billion.
It's because he got addicted to heroin, and then he got AIDS.
Right.
AIDS, and he was driving a Cadillac and drove off the road.
Right, well,
$98 weekly.
Because Trump claims to get a small loan of $1 million from his father to start his business, which is probably true in the way that was the only money that, on paper, that was probably like the maximum amount he could give him without, being fleeced on the taxes or something.
Well, yeah, and I mean,
It probably falls within some sort of gift limit, but Trump got way more than him, or more than that from his father. It was just all off the books.
Yes, yeah, and it wasn't just Trump; it was his siblings as well. Mm-hmm. I mean, this was a family who conspired to do this together. So, I mean, that might just be, once, like I said, another crime on the pile that it's like, no, we're not going to move forward on this because we want no wiggle room for him.
Yeah.
We want this fucker in a vice grip where he ain't going nowhere, and we can just nail him to the wall with what we got. And that takes years. And like I said, it was like a road to Damascus moment for me, for a lack of a better way to put it. When my friend explained it to me like that, I was like, oh, I fucking get it so much now. Okay. And the thing is that it's Trump supporters who are going, it's been 2 years and you ain't got nothing. Blah, 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 blah. They're the ones that are fucking, raising the level of anxiety and people going, well, it's a witch hunt. There's nothing. They got nothing. They've been after him for 2 years. 2 years ain't shit in the grand scheme of things when you're trying to take down someone of Trump's power and prestige. I mean, you don't hear about mob bosses getting caught red-handed with a gun in their hand, smoking, and a dead body in front of them. Right? It takes a long time.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of manpower.
There's no rush job on these things.
No.
You can't. I guarantee you, Mueller and his team are not looking at this like, well, this is our deadline. We got to, because he's running rampant in office. We got to get him out of there. No, they're like, this investigation is done when it's done.
Well, my friend also, she brought up a point. She said, there was a case. I can't remember the exact name of the case. I know it had to do with. It was an international case, so like Interpol and the FBI were all working together, and et cetera, et cetera. And it took the better part of a decade, but they took down a huge ring of child pornographers and pedophiles. And I mean, if you don't think that the federal government...
A huge ring.
Huge, yes, huge, bigly ring. Okay, if you don't think the federal government, if they're going to be patient through that, knowing that every day that they don't pull the trigger, there's going to be more children abused. But they also know that if they pull the trigger too soon, all they're going to do is just kick the hornet's nest and not kill any of the hornets. Come on now. And on top of that, it's the federal fucking government. I don't care how much money Trump's got. I don't care how much money Elon Musk has got. You ain't outlasting the federal government if they're coming after your ass. The only thing you can do is hope to die before they get you.
Unlimited resources. Call taxpayers.
Yeah. Oh man. I didn't consider the other option too, that he just fucking flees the country.
That's what I said.
How great would that be if he just abandons the presidency?
Just leaves.
Yeah, just goes over to Russia and he's like, I'm Russian. I'm here now. I'm learning to like vodka. I do miss KFC. Like
KFC over there.
Well, yeah. This isn't 1984. I forgot. Yeah, they've been capitalized for lack
Trump packs a suitcase full of Levi's and runs to Russia.
I got Levi's and toilet paper. Will you let me in?
Compact discs.
a fucking decade-old dead technology. But no, seriously. I mean,
they like the new romantic stuff, like Flock of Seagulls, right?
Yeah.
what would stop him if, let's say, he's not reelected? What would stop him from getting on the last flight of Marine One or whatever, the helicopter, the president's helicopter, taking him to a private jet, and him leaving the fucking country, just going someplace where they can't extradite him? I mean, what's stopping him? Nothing. I mean,
they go to Melania's home. And they live there now, wherever the fuck she's from.
When the Ustan countries or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, we go live with the in-laws now.
Well, I get the feeling that, like, if he's the day he leaves office, the next day he gets served with divorce papers. Is about my feeling, but because I've never seen a more unhappy-looking couple constantly in the news. I've even, especially. Just the look on her face of like, oh, this idiot.
This motherfucker.
Yeah, exactly. So I think his charm is wore off. And the fact that, he basically was like, yeah, I fucked a porn star while my wife was pregnant with my fucking on-the-spectrum child. So what are you going to do about it? What's she going to do about it? I'm Donald Trump. I mean, no woman likes to be humiliated like that. None. And I doubt that she's so passive she might just be laying back in the buckwheat like, yeah, I got something for that ass. Just wait till you're out of office.
Probably nailing some Secret Service dude anyway.
And you know what? Trump probably doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah, good. Keep her busy.
Oh, Christ.
So, yeah. Happy 2019, everyone. Just did an hour on Trump. Calendar's changed. Bullshit stayed the same.
New date, same bullshit.
Yeah.
So do we want to go from one moron to a group of morons?
Why not?
In
Sounds
Arizona?
like a challenge.
Well, Chris, you sent the story, so you go ahead and set.
I just thought it was hilarious. There's roving bands of people in Arizona like attacking automated cars, driverless cars. Because Waymo's testing down there the driverless Uber cars, or the driver. Are they Uber cars, or are they the driverless Google cars? Anyway,
They both have.
Yeah, the one that has the famous video where the car hits the lady on the bikes testing down there, and I just thought I just sent it to you guys because I thought it was funny because the thing that popped into my mind was the mob from The Simpsons. It always shows up with pitchforks, and the torches, and they're just following around these cars, chucking rocks at them, and it's since it's Arizona, you got it. They took our jobs. Probably going on too.
Yeah, I mean that's what I was going to ask. Is it a bunch of like cabbies, bus drivers, Uber drivers, and truck drivers attacking these things? That would, at least then I'd go, well, it kind of makes sense.
I don't know.
Or is it just random idiots who need to get a hobby?
Look, I'm sure people chucked rocks at the first cars that went out on the road.
Cowboys are like, they took our jobs. They're going to make our horses irrelevant.
Wielding rocks and knives, Arizonians attacking self-driving cars.
There's something very Palestinian about that, by the way.
First of all, the rock, I get it's a projectile. The knife, what are you going to do?
Slash the tire. That's
What? You think you're going to run alongside it, or are you going to catch it at a light and then slash its tires?
You can pull the driver out and stab him. Oops, wait, no, he can't do that. So, okay? Well, more to the point, is this just, in your guys' opinion, strictly in your personal opinion, is this more of fear of technology than anything else?
I think it's, I don't know.
You
know what they need to do is they need to make the self-driving cars talk, and people will stop abusing them.
Well, every redneck will love it because it's cool. It's KITT.
I'm skimming the article, and the attitude is I'm taking time to read it a week later. It's a not in my backyard attitude. They're like, they could do it somewhere else. We don't want to be their real world mistake. Like that kind of that those are actually a couple quotes from the article.
Yeah. The fear is that the Arizonians are going to be the casualties in this automated car movement.
Yes, Arizona's going to be ground zero for the fucking Matrix. When the robots rise up, they're going to start in Phoenix.
Okay. There's a lot of, I used to live in Phoenix, a lot of better places to fucking start than there, but okay.
Yeah.
And,
hey, wait, you get the
they're
robots to
still
build the
testing these
wall.
things. And even during these tests, they are still proving to be safer than your average human driver.
Oh God, yeah. I mean,
Did we all agree that a human wouldn't have been able to stop with that woman who got hit by the car because she just darted out in front of it?
Yeah. She would have been hit by any driver, human or robot.
Yeah, and we had our first snowfall of the year here in Detroit area, and it was literally like maybe a quarter inch on the ground. And I'm driving home, and I saw 4 cars in the median and a car that did a rollover on the on-ramp to 275 North. And I'm going, this is like a quarter inch of snow.
Right.
What happens when we get a real amount?
Yeah, because the computer is smarter. The computer, when it stops getting traction, it's not going to go, oh, I'm not going fast enough. I better give it more gas.
Yeah, and I mean, it was obvious that these accidents that I saw and spin-outs that I saw were people who just refused to drive refused to drive at the speed the conditions that were dictating they drive at.
Yep.
It was pure human fuckery. I want to go faster. I'm going too slow. I own a fucking pickup truck. Beep, beep, get out of my way. And yeah, by the way, all 4 cars in the median, pickup truck. And the car that was rolled over was like a little compact car.
I think people think that trucks are just automatically good in snow, even if they're not 4-wheel drive, like 90% of the trucks on the road are.
Yeah, but even if
are not 4-wheel drive.
Even if you have a big, heavy fucking beast of a truck, like when I had my GMC 1500, you still have no weight in the ass end.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I was in Minneapolis in November, and they got it iced up, and there was snow, and I was driving a fucking Suburban, or a Tahoe, either one, and it was all-wheel drive. Went to take a turn, took it too fast. Guess what? All 4 tires slid. The whole vehicle was sliding. So yeah, no, it's not a guarantee. Mm-hmm. It was just, I was a sliding box. Yay! I'm glad nobody's around, because I'd be hitting things right now.
I think if I were to guess, I would believe that half of these people are honestly concerned about, robots driving around in their state, and the other half are just assholes that just want to be mean to a robot because they just want to be mean to something. They probably go home and chew out their Alexa.
Hey, Alexa, fuck you! That's not fair.
Whereas, in my mind, the better way to do it is just don't own one.
Yeah, right.
But, whatever.
Yeah.
There is a built-in fear of the unknown in human beings. I think we can all agree on that.
It's a survival instinct.
Absolutely. And I mean, to be completely honest with you, I'm not exactly thrilled 100% with the idea of self-driving cars because of not that I'm afraid of technology or afraid of the unknown, but I guess this is a fear of the unknown a little bit. It's, what happens if there's a hiccup in the system? How bad is that going to ripple out? And if it's like you can show statistically, like people who are afraid of flying, for the most part, it's an irrational fear. You're safer in a plane than you are a car. I mean, that's just a fact. How many millions upon millions upon millions of people fly every year, if not billions worldwide? And how many people die? Versus we have 4 million in the Metro Detroit area? How many people die in car accidents? And that's just we're the 25th biggest city in the
Hey, don't have this
in the country anymore.
Now this argument with the Iceman.
Oh God, hold on, let me strap in. What was his take?
No, remember he was trying to tell us how you were much safer in a car. I'm like, no, like statistically, you are safer in a plane.
Oh,
I was trying to explain to him it's simply about the numbers. Like you
There's
take more
very
trips
few
in a car.
There's very few things you can put up against driving in a car that you could say are like more dangerous.
Yeah.
Like going to work as a fireman, maybe.
Yeah.
well, it's
That's
gotta,
maybe. Like I'd like to see some statistics. How many per head of firemen? How many of them are actually dying? I bet you that percentage-wise, there's more people dying on the freeways every day.
well, yeah, and you also have to take into consideration that if you ever look at like OSHA's numbers or whatever, the yearly, list of the most dangerous careers, truck driver, delivery person, taxi driver is almost always in the top 10. And the things that we're told are the most dangerous aren't, meaning we're, police officer, fireman, not usually in the top 10, or below professional drivers. So what does that tell you? But, once again, it's not sexy. Well, anybody can drive a car. As someone who's drove professionally and comes from a family of professional drivers, no, the fuck they can't. There's a lot of people with licenses who shouldn't have one, period. They are idiots behind the wheel. And it's not like I am without sin doing dumb shit behind the wheel. But I swear to God, the bane of my existence is people on their fucking cell phone while driving these days. I'd rather see a dude fucking pull a fifth of Jameson between his legs and take a fucking pull of it and be like,
These nose eyes on the road.
yeah.
Right, at least he's going like, I'm drinking, I better pay attention.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because it's not how many people get completely blackout, won't remember it, drunk and drive, versus how many people get behind the wheel and start finger fucking their phone thinking, whatever. No different than changing a radio station. Really? Why do you think they started putting controls for the radio on the steering wheels where you didn't even have to fucking look away from the road to turn it up, to switch over to your CD player, to switch over to your cell phone? Why do you think they have hands-free? My car's set up to where I could pair my cell phone to my car and say, call Aaron, and it'll call you. And I got a microphone right by my head where I sit in the car, and I got surround sound Aaron when I'm talking to you. You know what I'm saying? It's coming through every speaker in that car. There's a reason for that, because it's safer, but it's still not 100% safe.
People don't even understand that. I mean, they'll either put their phone on speakerphone, or even connect it to their car stereo and still hold the thing up to their face.
Yes.
And do what I call pizzaing the phone.
Yeah.
Like they're going to bite into the end of it.
I hate that.
Like, just put it down.
Yeah.
Oh. That's like the new douche test for me. Like Von Dutch trucker hats was a douche test at one point. Guys wearing like sequined too tight jeans with flip flops was a douche test at one point. When I see someone pizza in the phone, which is the perfect way to describe it, I'm just like, this type of asshole. He just
Right.
not only does
you
he
need to
not
go in
return,
Nextel, bitch.
not only
Fuck out of here.
Not only does he not return the cart to the cart corral, he probably just shoves it in a general direction in the side of someone's car. Like, this is just an absolute cocksucker right here. And
That's someone who wants you to see them on the phone.
yes, that's exactly what it is. There was a South Park episode when Cartman got his first smartphone. He's walking around talking on the phone like that. And I'm like, boom, the biggest asshole in the show. Right there. They're showing you. And he's like, excuse me, I'm on the phone. No one needs to hear your conversation. You're not that funny. And if you were, you'd have a podcast. Oh, wait, everybody's
And then
got
you
a podcast.
still might not be that funny.
Dax Shepard has a podcast. Everybody's got a podcast at this point. But no, yeah, it's God. I don't. Yeah, I forgot that I was in on that conversation. Him trying to claim that, Earl trying to claim that. Yeah,
So I tell him, like, Earl, it's been proven statistically, like, numerous times. Weren't telling him that. I even tried to say, like, Earl, like, just look at it this way. Whenever any plane falls out of the sky, it makes the news. Every car crash does not make the news. They don't have time for that shit.
No, they don't even talk about necessarily every car crash during traffic when they're giving traffic reports on the 7s.
But here, if some asshole who's taking flying lessons crashes his plane flying into City Airport, we're going to fucking hear about it.
Unregimented.
ChristopherMedia.net. ChristopherMedia.net.
Unregimented.
But anyway, what are we talking about? Arizonians hate driverless cars.
Well, wait a minute. But to keep up the plane versus car analogy, aren't most planes, once you get them in the air, set to autopilot?
I don't know. Mm-hmm. I am not a pilot.
Yeah.
Like, I'm talking like the big commercial airliners. They have a route, and only in case of emergency or something along, rough weather or something, do the pilots switch over to manual control, take off, landing. The rest of it's pretty much autopilot.
Yeah.
So what's that tell you?
The cruise control?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, it.
And I bet you they could design an AI that could land a plane better than a pilot could, but people just wouldn't be comfortable with that.
As much as I've flown.
How do we know that's not doing that already and the pilots aren't just there, like, to keep us all
right.
with
so we
peace
can
of
get
mind?
back to flying like our daddies did, drunk.
Yeah.
That was the premise of when Homer becomes the truck driver, and they had the automated driving system. That was their big secret, and he found out, and he was standing on the roof of the car,
ghost riding the whip, drunk as shit. Well, no, I mean, something that I've been told by people that are pilots, and I've heard constantly, is pretty much when you're in the air, that's the safest you are in that plane.
Oh, yeah.
It's when you land, that's essentially a controlled crash. That's where you put hours in a simulator.
Yeah, at this point, I've taken enough flights to know the times to be nervous are takeoff and landing. Once you're in the air, yeah, the freak shit like that engine blowing up last year, that's freak shit. That's like lottery ticket type of shit. But yeah, your chances of the plane crashing are greater during takeoff and landing, because that's when shit can go wrong. Yeah, once the plane's in the air, it's not just gonna fall out of the sky.
Yeah, because the last time I flew, the only time that I grabbed the seat and was kind of white knuckling it was I had the hardest landing I've ever been in, and I haven't flown as much as you, Chris, but for someone that's not part of my job, my career, I've flown quite a bit, especially when I was younger. I've never had a landing that rough. That one, it was like, oh shit. And it was my ex-wife's first time in a plane. So she's like, whoa, this is great. I'm like, no, this ain't how it's supposed to
go. In 6 years, there's been one landing. I was like, ooh, one landing I've been awake for. And it was in Vegas, and it was windy. And he touched down and he had to pick the wheels back up. It's like, oh, we got to circle around, try that again. We were like, what the fuck? Yeah. Like, and he just explained to us, he's like, yeah, it's real windy today. Sorry, guys. Like, oh, shit.
Things you never want to hear someone say.
Yeah.
Can I get a mulligan? I'm going to take a mulligan on that landing. We're going to give this another try.
I was like, we had to try that again. I was like,
That's right up there with, like, a guy walking into Victoria's Secrets going, does this come in like child sizes? You know what I'm saying? It's it's just shit you never want to hear said.
Yeah, you never want to hear, oh shit, coming from the cockpit. Oh,
it's funny because like automated cars are going to happen, right? They're coming. It's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of how they're going to be integrated. And eventually people will accept them, but it's not even the lives saved that will change people's minds. It's not sitting in traffic. It's being able to fucking, jerk off and drink coffee on your commute where your automated vehicle is doing 90 down the freeway with all the rest of them.
Yeah.
And you're there in like no time flat.
Yeah. If it can, if the algorithm, the the quote unquote algorithm can help eliminate traffic, that's going to be the big selling point.
Oh, especially places like Chicago,
LA, New York.
You know, I was watching the season 2 of Making a Murderer, and there was a part where they had to go to a federal courthouse in Chicago, and they this illustrated why I'm like, fuck Chicago traffic. I've only been in it a handful of times, and I try to avoid it like the plague. And this illustrated why. It was a 22-mile trip. It was estimated it was going to take them an hour and a half. And I'm just like, ain't no one got time for that. You know what I'm saying?
In New York all the time. I used to hit the GPS 4 miles away. Estimated time 45 minutes. Like, you got to be shitting me.
Like, at that point, you could bike it quicker. I mean, I'm dead nuts serious. Mm-hmm. I mean, what? The average person can walk a mile in roughly 15 minutes. All right. On a bike, it's like, what, 6, 7? I mean, it's a pain in the ass because, you know, I think New York's one of those states you have to wear all that bullshit faggy gear. Like, you know, you're a little kid, even though you're an adult, and you can't. Do you not have your helmet? Well, I got to pull you over because here comes a bike cop, and he's like, ding, ding, pull over. But,
yeah, but you're also driving a bike where there's cars everywhere.
Yeah, that's the problem, though. Is that
That was my one fear in New York, was I was going to end up with a manslaughter charge with some asshole comes flying out from behind a car on a bike, and I don't stop in time.
Oh yeah, and they have no. The whole road is their right of way in their mind.
Which I understand. You want to be on the road with the big boys. You got to follow the big boys' traffic laws. You got to stop at stop signs. You got to stop at traffic lights.
And you know, don't do shit like, oh, I don't know,
fly through an intersection.
Exactly. Bomb between people's cars that are driving. You know, or worse yet, between the passenger side of cars that are driving and the driver's side of where people are parked, getting in and out of their car. And then get pissed when someone opens the door, but, you know, you're doing 30 on a bike and, you know, what the fuck? Well, you probably shouldn't have been riding there. Let's be honest here.
I've read a story about that a couple days ago. Someone in New York got killed like that. Somebody opened the door, guy flew into the door, flew into traffic, got hit by a car. He was on an e-bike, whatever the fuck that means.
Oh, God. Is it a self-pedaling bike?
Vaping makes it go. No.
Vaping. Oh, Christ. You know, I
think it's one step below like a power bike or something like that.
Aaron, you do bring up a good point, though. It's going to be the fact that people can, you know, okay, I'm going to get to work quicker, more efficiently, but I can also do other shit because, I mean, more and more in society, we have no tolerance for downtime.
Right.
You know.
Well, yeah, but we also believe like, oh, well, we're this nation of car drivers, and the car represents personal freedom in America, and you can go wherever you want, whenever you want. And none of that's going to change. Like, people think that you have to have your hands on the wheel to have that control. No, you just, whenever you want, a car is going to show up and take you wherever you want to go. Like, you're going to experience all that freedom, and you're going to realize, you know what? I didn't actually like driving. And if I did like driving that much, I'd be doing it in some other aspect, you know? There'll still be car races. I'm sure once we have automated vehicles dominating the road, we'll probably see a lot of businesses pop up where people can just, who have their own car that they can drive, can go on a course and drive it around.
Yeah, and I mean, we don't
if
ride.
You're that into driving, but I'm not that into driving. I don't mind driving, but like, if the car can do it for me and do it better, fuck yeah. Why wouldn't I? I've done that with so many other things in my life. How many conveniences? Like, sure, I can fucking add in my head, but why would I? I've got a calculator in my pocket.
See, this is the same reason I want a bidet. I'm tired of spending energy wiping my ass. Just let a fire hose shoot up it. I'm good, you know? Just
like, I'm a modern man. I want modern conveniences.
But no, absolutely. Like, even I love driving. It allows me to not, especially under the right. Unfortunately, I hardly ever drive under these circumstances. I used to just go for drives in the middle of the night, and I'd end up on the other side of the state. Now, this is when gas was like, $1.05.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? This is, and at night, just on the highway, just, especially if you're going cross country. That's why I always try to travel at night when I drive across the country. Especially you get out west. Oh, baby, you just set that cruise control and it's flat and straight and just go. And I mean, you can see everything. You open the moonroof and you can see fucking forever. There are more stars in the sky than you ever fucking realize because you're not near a major city, And it's just it's a peaceful thing. But I'm also a lazy fuck. And so if I can get an extra 40 minutes of sleep on the way into work,
hell yeah.
Sign me up. Now, I know ultimately what that's going to turn into is I'm going to get 40 minutes less sleep.
Yeah, right.
Because I know I can make it up on the way into work. So I'm going to be playing NHL 19 for an extra 40 minutes before I go to bed. But
hey, priorities.
In theory, you get what I'm saying. Oh, I know what I was going to bring up. Have you guys heard that Kanye West is going to be on Joe Rogan's podcast?
I have.
Yeah.
Okay, I've kind of fallen off, listening to Joe Rogan.
That's a little too much crazy for me to handle.
But man,
I am going to download that one.
Exactly. I'm going to probably watch the YouTube video of that one. Usually I just listen to the podcast. I don't watch the YouTube videos of his.
They're going to smoke weed and they're going to talk about some crazy shit.
Oh, I can't wait to hear Kanye talk about how China didn't land on the moon because we've never been to the moon, period, ever. And all this shit and all the crazy shit he's going to say because that motherfucker just seems like he lives in a tinfoil world. Fuck a hat, fuck a suit. Everything in his house is made of tinfoil. Except for Kim Kardashian's ass. So
right.
That's silicone. But yeah, because remember there was Roseanne was supposed to be on. Did she ever appear? Do you guys know?
I don't think.
know.
I think we'd have heard about it.
Well, I know that she said she was scheduled and she canceled, and he addressed it. He said, she was supposed to be on this week, but we're going to reschedule. She had some scheduling issues or whatever. And I was just like, oh, it can't get crazier than that. But Kanye was like, hold my beer.
Oh, she did October 11th.
Oh, shit.
She did it.
I have to say, though, I was disappointed when he had Mel Gibson on his podcast because I was hoping he was going to go
Mel
hard.
left the crazy at home, or did Joe pander to him?
Mel Gibson was like there to talk about
The Jews?
some product that he was, and he had somebody with him, and basically it was anytime Joe was trying to stray off of great, his podcasts are between 2 and 3 hours long, and anytime he tried to stray beyond okay, we're not going to talk about your product for 2-3 hours. The guy Mel Gibson brought with him played bad cop and steered the conversation back so Mel wouldn't look like an asshole. But I was really hoping it was, going to be exactly what you said, Chris. Him going, all right, look, here's the deal. You're like a 60-something-year-old man, and I'm Joe Rogan. You ain't kicking my ass. So either answer this question or get the fuck out my studio. What's your problem with the Jews? But he never, you could tell he was playing the game.
They killed Jesus. You made a movie about it.
He also gets accused of a lot of other shit. Apparently he's a Anglophobe. Because of Braveheart and what was it? His other movie that was like Braveheart in the Revolutionary War times.
He's afraid of being colonized by the British. Well, he's from Australia.
Exactly. Yeah, there was some criticism of him for that, and then of course the whole Jews thing, and then calling the cops sweet tits or whatever, and
the job is to smile and blow me.
His whole rant against his wife, which it's oh man, I've been that angry. I kind of understand it. I mean, I don't condone it, but I'm I understand it. And I'm just, if you've heard the tapes of him and his wife, here's my thing. What did she do to get him worked up and then hit record? That's my question. Because, like, he's damn near slobbering at the fucking mouth. And then she's just, what? Yeah. And I don't buy that.
I've met a woman before.
I've been in too many relationships. And it's not exclusively a woman thing. It's an asshole in a relationship thing. Is to work a person up to the point where they snap and then all of a sudden pull back and play the doe-eyed innocent. Like, what are you so upset for? What's wrong?
Yeah.
We're just talking here.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, motherfucker, you just spent the last 30 minutes telling me about how much of a piece of shit I am because, you were a runaway when your father died. Your mother's had 4 abortions and blah, 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 blah. And then when I finally snap, you go, wait, why are you mad at me? Don't yell at me.
Sat there pushing on the button for an hour and wonder why I'm foaming at the mouth.
Yeah, it's like, hey, you wanted asshole? Asshole here now.
The red, shiny, candy-like button. You sat there pushing on it. But yeah, so Kanye, I hope they smoke the craziest weed and just start talking about the most ludicrous shit.
Oh, God. It's either going to be...
Kanye,
it's like when I saw
what do you think about the moon landing?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. I mean, or he's going to be like, so, Kanye, I'm glad you're here. Thank you for doing this. Do you really like fish sticks? And like just hit him with the South Park shit right off the bat.
Is Joe Rogan taking questions from listeners to ask Kanye?
I don't think so. I don't think that's part of his thing.
Are they going to talk about the MAGA hat? Because Kanye is back on...
he said he's going to...
I mean, what happened to... He realized that he was being used as a tool. And then now he's back on that MAGA shit again.
He's going to perform in a MAGA hat so everyone knows where he stands.
Yeah. Is my man off his meds?
I don't know. I honestly, with the whole MAGA hat, I thought he was going to try to spin it to be like, look, I'm not wearing it necessarily because I support Donald Trump. I just support the sentiment, make America great again. And to me, that should have, like, if he was smart, he'd have tried to spin it that way. That has no political party. Don't we all want to live in a great country? Isn't that the goal here? Or are we so miserable? Are we such miserable cocksuckers that we will sabotage our own happiness just so we can continue bitching? But he didn't spin it that way. And then he backpedaled, which made him look even worse because you can't say sorry to a certain portion of the zealots on the left. Because if you do, it's seen as weakness. And if you backpedal to the zealots on the right, it's seen as weakness as well. That you're wishy-washy, that you're not one of the good ones, Kanye. You know what I'm saying? Like that type attitude. Like, we thought you were, but you're not. You're not Colin Powell.
We let you in the house and everything.
Like, come on. Ben Carson's a good one. Be like Ben Carson. That type of bullshit. So
You go back to sleeping out in the barn, Kanye.
And I got to wonder, as a musician, does he ever think, does anyone even respect me as a musician anymore? Or am I just known because I stick my dick in this fucking Kardashian and have her pop a kid out every couple of years and say outlandish shit to the point where the music is not even secondary. It's so far down the list, no one even pays attention to it anymore. I mean, his whole Saturday Night Live performance, the buzz wasn't about his music. The buzz was about everything but.
And Carolla pointing at the sky.
I mean, seriously, guys, let's play pretend for a minute. Let's say that any of us had somehow made it to the point where we're on Saturday Night Live, and you're rehearsing. This is your national coming out party.
Who's hosting?
You're going to introduce yourself to people that you would never get eyes on you otherwise. And you get done playing and you do your 2 songs, and then instantly the internet's talking about something you were wearing. The music isn't even talked about, period, whatsoever.
Find my stylist and be like, what the fuck? Why'd you let me go out there like that? No, but I get what you're saying. Yeah, but this isn't his coming out party, so to speak.
No, yeah.
This isn't 2005 and College Dropout just came out.
Yeah, it's true. And I mean, we talked a little bit about his music, and I was like, that was a very underwhelming performance.
The spectacle, I think, is part of him now. Like, he's like a circus act.
Yeah, I can see that. And I mean, I guess if you have nothing really else to offer of substance, I guess that's the route you have to go, right? I mean, but it's something I've never really understood why people like my mother and my grandmother would be like, oh, this person's a great entertainer. Well, their music sucks. Yeah, but they sing, they dance, they're witty between songs on the mic. I'm not going to see a fucking ballet or a stand-up comedian. If the music sucks, who gives a fuck if they dance well? Like, my mother was like enthralled with Madonna because, oh, look at her and she's in such good shape and she can dance at her age and she's singing, and I'm like, and she sounds like shit if she doesn't have a backing track running. I mean,
Vogue was a long time ago, Mom.
Like, I kind of feel that when I hear people talk about, oh, Britney Spears in Vegas, she does everything in her show. Yeah, have you ever actually listened to just the audio? It's horrible. It is absolutely horrible. She's out of breath half the time, and the other half she's singing in that baby voice. Mm-hmm. That has no projection behind it, no power behind it. She's not Christina Aguilera. I mean, you want to talk about a bitch and get up there and belt one out. That's Christina Aguilera.
Yes.
Britney is very much the show. And it's like, I guess that's enough for some people. They're like, well, as long as people are paying attention, I'm good. To me, I'd rather be known as Aretha Franklin was a big biscuit-eating bitch the last 2 decades of her life, but she could still get up there and nail it. Sweaty as a motherfucker, looking like Mahalia Jackson on the sun.
Did you hear, by the way, she didn't pay taxes from 2012 to 2018, the period when, like, after she got sick, she stopped paying taxes?
That's some gangster shit.
Yeah, that's kind of hilarious.
Like, wait. This is terminal? There's no way I'm beating this? Yeah, fuck Uncle Sugar.
Dumb paying taxes. Yeah, it's quite an Aretha move.
I ain't paying no taxes.
You paying taxes.
I'm going to fire that tax man. Yeah. Well, let's be honest. If you had that type of fuck you money, why not?
Yeah, I'd be like, come get it. Yeah, come see me in 2019. Oh, whoops.
I mean, shit. It's at least a better excuse than Willie Nelson. I just got high and forgot to pay him. Like that's Willie. That doesn't work that way. Or Wesley Snipes. I'm a sovereign person. I don't pay taxes.
Yeah,
well, you're going to federal prison.
You stay in our sovereign prison, sovereign citizen. Here, you're going to be in the sovereign citizen section of this prison. You and all the other sovereign citizens can get together and talk about how this is bullshit, right? Huh? Okay, then I guess this is the part where I tell everybody that we're on Spotify now. The little guys are allowed to play with Spotify now. It was the big boys until recently, and now the independent guys like us are allowed to fuck with Spotify. So you can check us out on there now if you are an Android person. Because the Android podcast game is rather scattered, but a lot of people use Spotify anyways for music, so you can just favorite us on there, follow us, or whatever the fuck you do on there. I just know it's another statistic for me to check every day. We are on Twitter at UnRegimentedPod. Email the show on regiment@ChristopherMedia.net. New shows coming out every Saturday. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
See ya.
Later, guys.
Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net. ChristopherMedia.net.
If you like this show, please tell a friend. Please make sure to rate and comment on all your favorite Christopher Media shows. Please follow us on Twitter and like and share us on Facebook. You can subscribe to all ChristopherMedia.net shows for free on ChristopherMedia.net. Thank you for listening, and thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.
Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.